Good Erev Shabbos, Parshas Mishpatim. The Parsha starts off by telling us about this Jewish bondsman, this Eved Ivri, who unfortunately has to sell himself as a slave. Why is that? He's either borrowed a tremendous amount of money and he couldn't pay it back, or maybe he stole and he wasn't able to get the money back. And so therefore he sells himself as a slave. So he works as a slave for 6 years, and on the 7th year, he is freed. However, what happens if he says, Ahafti es adoini es ishti ves banai, he marries a lady, he has children, and he says, you know what, I like my job, I like what I'm doing, I'm finally settled in life, I finally have what I need. So the Torah says, Lo yeitzei chavshi, he remains a slave. Well, what do we do? V'higisha adanav Elokim, v'higisha ladelis ala mezuzah. And we take him and we put him by the doorpost and we pierce his ears. And says, Rashi, why do we do this? Because the ears that heard on Har Sinai, don't steal. And he went and he stole. The ears on Har Sinai that said, Ki li b'nei Yisrael avadim. You are here to serve me, says Hashem. And now you're going to go serve someone else? By being in this position, you're not going to be able to be the optimal, the perfect type of Jew. And I want you to be able to serve me in the best type of way. And now you can't. So therefore, we pierce his ear. Now I don't understand. And I shared this with the boys on Wednesday. I don't understand. This fellow, he had to turn to stealing. So obviously life wasn't so great. He wasn't able to hold down a job. He wasn't able to find a job. He wasn't able to sustain himself. So now he finally has a good job. He's working for someone. He's settled down. Not only that, he's married. He has children. He has a family. And he says, I want to stay. I'm comfortable. This is great. Things are good. Why do we have to take him and bring him to the doorpost and pierce his ear and put him through this suffering? I mean, we should look at him and say, kol hakavod. Wow, you're doing great. This bothered me a little bit. And I want to suggest the following idea. I hope it's true. And as follows. If you stood at Har Sinai, says Rashi, and you heard Hashem say, Ki li b'nei Yisrael avadim, you believe in God, you believe Hashem created you, Hashem created us, we're the children of God, then Hashem gave you the ability to do whatever you need in life to be successful in the most optimal way. You don't have to sell yourself as a slave. You don't have to go rob people. You don't have to borrow money. You could be who you are because you have the ability. Hashem created you. You're the child of Hashem. Says Hashem, you heard at Har Sinai that I created you. You agree with that. So then you have everything you need. And the reason why I shared this, and therefore, if you don't believe in this, so therefore you didn't hear that message, we pierce your ear. So I shared with the boys that 2 years ago, I spent Shabbos in Whistler. Whistler Mountain was a beautiful Shabbos, a whole weekend over there. And on Sunday, I bumped into a fellow, and it was all Siyata D'Shmaya, and he needed a ride to the airport. His car broke down, he needed a ride to the airport, and for 2 hours he was telling me about his dream, his goals. And at that point, I didn't think he had much of a chance to ever achieve his dreams, especially when he told me he almost achieved his dreams. And in order to enable himself to achieve his dreams, he said, he's having a hard time finding a partner in marriage, he is having a hard time making a living, he has to collect money, but he has this dream. And I almost felt bad for him to some extent. But he was driven. He had a desire. He had a goal. And he was going to get there no matter what. His name was A.J. Edelman. And maybe by now he's famous because a week ago the news broke that him and his bobsled team are headed to the Olympics. He was on a mission to get to the Olympics. In the last Olympics, he missed it by 0.1 second. And he was telling me if he only had a new sled and a faster sled. And he was telling me about the governments and how much money they invest in people. He said, unfortunately, I don't get very much support. And he's representing Israel in the bobsled team. And he really inspired me because even though he showed up in Lake Placid a couple years ago and they told him, you will never be a bobsled driver, he was determined. And even though he missed it by 0.1 seconds, he wrote on a napkin after he missed it, and it's out there, you could find it, I will do whatever it takes to get back to the Olympics. And here he is today, Bezrat Hashem, and we wish him well. You see, because he was determined, because he had a mission, because he said, nothing is going to stop me. Ein davar omed lifnei haratzon. Hashem created you with all your abilities, everything you need. You don't need to come to steal in order to make a living. You don't need to beg and borrow. Hashem created you. You just need to be determined. You have to believe in yourself. And maybe that is the message of the Eved Ivri in this week's Parsha. If he would believe in himself, that he has all the abilities because we stood at Har Sinai and we heard Hashem say, I created you with everything you need, then he wouldn't have had to come on to all the things that he needed to come on to. And therefore, my friends, I want to wish you all a wonderful Shabbos, and believe in yourselves, believe in your mission, be determined, and Bezrat Hashem, you will get there. Have a good Shabbos.